For South Ayrshire Volleyball Club, trophy presentations were a distant dream. After 10 years of hard graft through the lower leagues, the 2014-15 season will go down as the best in the club's history. A first national title and retaining the Thistle Bowl here in Edinburgh is an incredible achievement for this team.
This season we've had probably the best season, I would say, that we've had as a unit at the senior game. The group themselves have been working together for about 10 years now, the core of which are still part of the original group that I started out with 10 years ago. Having worked through various levels of competitive volleyball through the juniors into Division 3 and Division 2, and now ultimately having completed the season and winning Division 1 has been the cherry, if you want, on the cake here for this particular group. They have been the sort of core team I've worked with for a long period of time, and to ultimately win the first division as we have done this year is just a terrific achievement, and I'm really pleased for them as a group to have managed to do that, because it's been a long slog.
After such a successful season, what now for the team? How can you keep motivating a side that has risen from the bottom to the top of the national game? The coach believes this season's league restructuring can keep his men on their toes.
This year sees a change in the structure of the leagues, and the SVA are doing something different, and they're changing to a 6-team first division rather than the current 8. So that becomes slightly more competitive, because there's always been a couple of teams at the bottom end that have been sort of whipping boys, if you want, that made for a bit of a cushion where we were at one point. So that's gone, and now it'll be one team goes down at 8, so you're fighting to avoid relegation. But the other thing they're doing is they're making a split in the league, so that, I think after we've all played each other twice, the league splits into top 3, bottom 3, and there's a top 3 playoff in the bottom 3. So really the aim is to be in the top 3, obviously, and then fight through from there. So a different structure brings a new challenge. This year, the season's finished for New Volleyball getting promoted up to the first division, so they'll be a new team in the first division next year. Primarily they were Jets, who won the league last year. They broke away from that club and went to a different club and went down into Division 2. So they're coming up and brings us a new challenge as well. So there's plenty there to make it interesting next year for us to go back and try and retain the title, that's for sure. And this year we got knocked out of the cup by Mets, who have been our nemesis this year. We've managed to beat them once, but the most important one, they got us the league right enough, but we've fallen at the hurdle 3 times against them, and unfortunately we knocked out the cup by them, so that's going to be a challenge. We want to reverse that.
But what about the future of the sport? The popularity of volleyball has plummeted, players are at a premium, and international performances have been poor. Despite Scotland's first ever international tournament win in Luxembourg last year, volleyball was not included in Glasgow 2014. And the public haven't warmed to volleyball, unlike other minority sports. This is a mystery to Ian, who has 30 years experience in the game.
The game's very much about speed and power, and when you watch a game, sometimes it can come across quite boring, because it's 3 touches, and especially in the men's game, because it is so fast, that there's not a lot of recycling in the ball. The women's game tends to be more entertaining, because it's not quite as fast, not quite as hard, so the girls are able to get the ball up and keep it going, so you get long rallies and things, where the guys' game in the main tends to be about speed and power, as I said, and it's very much a dig, set, kill, or a big block or a great save will recycle the ball maybe 2 or 3 times. So it's, in terms of an audience watching games, sometimes it's not quite as appealing as some of the other games. If you're a player and you've played it, and people have played it when they're on holiday, and they get a bit of a taste for it, they understand what it's about, and it can be a bit more appealing then. But It's a shame. It's a shame that it doesn't get as much coverage because I love the game obviously. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. But when you look at how it's perceived in the continent, and I think the Polish won the World Cup this year, and there was an audience of something like 50,000 people watching that. So there's massive potential for a game to draw in a huge audience. But unfortunately, this country it doesn't. Being the country that we're in, where it's constantly raining, you would think we'd be good at sports and the indoor and be really interested in it, but it just doesn't seem to happen. So the other side of it is from schools, because it's proven that teachers find the sports teachers seem to find the game difficult to teach, which again I don't see. Maybe they're just not prepared to put the investment in terms of understanding and getting the buy-in from the teachers to perhaps drive it more. So there's not enough interest coming from juniors at that level if you want to drive a change in culture. Everyone's football, isn't it? Football, rugby, tennis are all massive games. Cycling are all taking off because of the success of the Olympics and some of these minority sports. Volleyball didn't have the same success because GB didn't do very well, and it wasn't at the Commonwealth Games. So again, we don't drive it in terms of an audience participation from the media, really.
So on the back of the Luxembourg success that we had, maybe we missed a trick in not putting volleyball in the Commonwealth Games.
Absolutely, we should have done. I don't know why it was opted not to, the powers of politics, but you're right. And that was always nobody knew that the juniors were going to win that competition. And even the men had a great success in the competition that they were doing as well. So again, had the benefit of hindsight, had they known that there was such a strong unit, then perhaps they would have merited a bit more support in terms of Commonwealth Games and things. But the SVA are trying to do their bit to generate interest with this change of league structure and new competitions, and that they're building into the structures that we've got. But it's a game that seems to be in demise, and it's a concern that, again, it's another sport that can disappear. I mean, we've had a great success here at the club in terms of the juniors and the development we've got through the schools, who do push kids in their direction because they know that kids are interested in doing it. I think there's something between 30, 50, sometimes 60 kids on a Wednesday night at the junior session, and we've got a recreational thing as well, where there's about 20 adults who used to play, or people who have been away on a holiday and enjoyed it when they played on the beaches and have come along. So at all levels there is an interest here. It's just unfortunate that outside our club, or outside what we've got going here in Ayrshire, there's not quite as much of an interest.
There may be worries about the game right now, but that won't stop South from savouring their great success.